full access to American intelligence and not to let the Republicans off, what the hell were they doing not fighting back and not saying this? They walk around on eggshells when Democrats betray and get our troops killed, which is what they did. The New York Times, 60 pages, 60 front pages on Abu Ghraib. 60 front pages. In the entire Second World War, while the Jews were being eliminated.
You're not answering my question.
Excuse me. I'm answering both parts of your question. I'll answer a third part. The first part was how do we get cheap oil?
I'm Israeli. I'm not going to let my country down. I'm Israeli. Is that your question? No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but
the way we're going to go give the Indian people the country back.
The first
California to Mexico back. It's not going to happen. Is that good answer?
The first answer.
Better.
The first answer was, we can drill here, that's where you get cheap oil. The second one was your frustration for failed wars. You take that to the Democratic Party. You can also take it to Republicans. But the Democrats are the prime culprits. It's not an accident that Jimmy Carter brought the Ayatollah to power and Obama has brought the Muslim Brotherhood to power in the Middle East. Same mentality, same operational principles. The third thing is, even if you extricated every Jew from Israel and brought them here, you will still have the Islamic jihad against the West, and they will pursue it until they are defeated.
Respond to the previous speaker. Yes, my question is, who do you think really paid for this war, or that war? In 1945, I set off a booby trap on Okinawa. I helped pay for winning World War II. In just a minute. Fortunately for me, the booby trap didn't go off. Clearly, or I wouldn't be here. The people who are paying for the war are not these suckers who have money enough to pay the taxes to support the war. It's the damn victims who are sent over there to risk their lives and go crazy. Now, what does that have to do with tonight? I would have never been in World War II. There would have never been a World War II. If Hitler had been stopped when he said what he was going to do and proceeded to do it, are we going to have any battle or confrontation with Iran? The question is, are we going to do it now, or are we going to do it when they're a lot stronger, as Hitler was allowed to do?
So, changing the subject a little bit, to culture. You had mentioned culture. And you had said it's all about culture. And I agree with you. Okay?
You're a conservative.
But what are we doing about culture? You've come on, you've talked about the campus, you've talked about, well, just let me finish my question, please, sir. You've talked about the campus, the problems on the campus. I don't disagree with any of it, okay? But it's one thing to talk about the problems, it's another thing to talk about the solution to the problems. Now, are there any students here from the School of Journalism? Wonderful. Okay? So are we going after what is the biggest influence of culture, American society? Well, who are the biggest deniers of this country being a Judeo-Christian country, being founded on principles and wanting to change those principles. I say it's our media, I say it's our journalists, I say it's the people not telling the citizens of this country the truth, and I think that originates in schools of journalism and journalistic ethics.
I spent the last 7 years attempting to get universities to adopt an academic Bill of Rights. And my purpose was very simple. It was that there should be two sides of every question fairly presented. That's it. That the professor was there to teach students how to think, not to tell them what to think. And I was pretty lonely in this battle. So I've given my, it was a very modest solution, but I think it would have had a big impact. It's like, I was just thinking, when you say this is a Judeo-Christian country, there are people who will hear that as saying, as intolerant towards non-Judeo-Christian faiths, or to atheists. I know that you didn't mean that, but I'm just telling you. So it's always important, that's why it's important to have a dialogue. I think the schools, and it's not just universities, these kids are already brainwashed when they get to college. The K-12 schools are terrible. The same way. I went through 20 years of education. I never once, not once, had a teacher or a professor reveal what his political views were, ever, in a classroom. And in fact, in the classroom, when I was in college, if you took one side, the professor would play the devil's advocate. It taught you how to think. The only kids in this school who are getting a decent education, and it's not really that decent because their professors are all on the left, are the conservative kids. Because if they have to defend the ideas that they have, which means they get the two sides. The kids on the left, bright as they are, get only one side. And they're never tested in their assumptions. It's a great tragedy. And I found two leftist professors. I did this for 7 years. I've written 5 books on the subject with the solutions, and I tried every which way. I tried to put intellectual diversity in the diversity, they have these, this school probably spends millions every year, probably $10 million. And it's got diversity deans and diversity offices. All you have to do is insert intellectual diversity. Could not get it done. It's a big problem. It's a big problem. I think the internet is a great pluralizer. If you want the information, it's up there on the internet. You just have to have an open enough mind to look for it. And I don't know that there's truth. There are truths. Yeah.
Hey, I have a quick question for you. A poll came out today saying that 52% of registered Mississippi Republicans believe that Barack Obama is a Muslim. And I was just kind of curious about your thoughts on that idea and why so many people do.
I think I've written a whole pamphlet on Barack Obama. I think he's an incredibly dishonest human being. I think he makes Bill Clinton look like a boy. He makes Bill Clinton look like a Boy Scout. I haven't the foggiest idea. I've seen the videos. I've seen him say he's a Muslim. In the video. I actually saw a video the other day. When I was a kid, was Tom Mix was listening to the radio. We didn't have TVs, and he had the slogan, "I believe only nothing that I hear and only half of what I see." With Obama saying, "I was born in Kenya," his own lips, everything. What do I know? I don't think he identifies with this country as it is. He identifies, as leftists do, with a future America that they're going to create. I think that he has played a terrible role in encouraging the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic revolution in the Middle East. So I don't have an answer to that question.
I have a comment before I ask the question. I'm the father of an Iraq War veteran, and it is very distressing to me for him to be considered a victim or in some way damaged by that. I do feel it was a waste of his time going there, but I don't think our soldiers should be spoken of in that way. My question to you is, having gone through sort of a change through my life as you have, perhaps not as radical, and reaching an epiphany with Ronald Reagan, I'm wondering if you can help me understand, as well as for young students, how it is that people of our maturity still hold on to progressive fantasies, even when they should know better.
Oh, I think I'm sorry. Look, one of the reasons for having the fantasy is because you can't face the world as it is. It's sad, but you know, I'm trying to think of a simple example, but it's very hard to come to terms with reality. Conservatives are rooted in the real world. They accept the limits on people. People are not going to change dramatically. There's not going to be a world in which there's equality. Well, look at it this way. Madison, who was one of our founding conservative fathers, pointed out that there's an ineluctable, inescapable conflict between liberty and equality. Why? Because people are unequal. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are prettier than others. Some people have more energy than others. Some people just can see an opportunity better than others. That creates inequality every single day. So in order to have equality, you have to take away their liberty to express themselves and reap the rewards. Now, that means that conservatives who believe that, as Madison did, have to look at the world and say, well, maybe we can make an improvement here, an improvement there, but basically, there's always going to be inequalities among people. There are some people that you can't help. You know, it's like the homeless. You give them a home. That doesn't help the problem. They're homeless for other reasons than that they didn't have a home. So it's, you know, it's just a matter of people. You just can't. Look, I actually wrote a book about my change. And it's true, it was fairly dramatic. I was depressed for 7 years. I lost all my friends. It was like, you know, so who wants that? I mean, if you have the choice. So people are risk averse, and for good reason. But it's pretty painful going through it. You know, there are a lot of marriages that are there because it's just too painful to do what needs to be done. That doesn't mean that every marriage is like that, but there are plenty that are like that. So I don't think it's a good question, but I don't think it's hard to understand why people stay in that vein. And then, of course, we have now, it used to be that you paid a price for identifying with communists or identifying, you know, with the parallel terror. You don't pay that price anymore. Angela Davis, a communist hack, but I despise that woman when I consider myself a Marxist revolutionary. She did. She got a Lenin Prize from the worst satellite dictatorship, East Germany. She's a liar. I can't go on, you know, on and on about this woman. Her name is now on a federal courthouse as a great political figure. And she has been lionized. She's got six-figure salaries. She's like a university professor at the University of California. What she writes is drivel. And I don't say that about every leftist. But what she writes is drivel. So there's just great rewards for being, identifying with communists, for maintaining the fantasy. And this What leftist has to go to college campuses with a bodyguard, as I do, and gets to speak to 10 students? I mean, you know, I'm not that famous, but at my level of notoriety, come on, you know. And I won't tell you the struggles that these kids had to get funding to make this possible. So the rewards are all on the other side, and that keeps people. And then when I actually changed, I realized that I would have been insulted if you had said this to me while I was a leftist. But the fear of losing your friends is incredibly powerful. And leftists don't understand how free a universe the conservative one is. Conservatives disagree about everything. Leftists, if you cross an invisible line, you're a dead person.
David?
I think we'll take
one more.
One more.
Yeah. I got a question, and I'd like to put aside the word leftist, conservative, what have you. What my concern is, and I look at the sea change in our Congress, in our administration, how I guess where Israel was in favor by most American, most Congress, most administrations, the sea change has gotten us to a point when it's the rare individual who stands fast for our American, we'll call values, and that would be a Joe Lieberman. Where have all the Liebermans gone?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I have great admiration for Lieberman. And it's because he stood up against, particularly on the Iraq War. He didn't change when they all flipped. And, you know, they all have presidential ambitions. I thought that was very noble of him. You know, there are very few. It's very sad. I think it's terrible